Hi there, very good morning. Welcome back to ET. Now you're watching Market Cafe with me, Kanishka, Sarkar and Shrishti, Sharma. Over the next 1 hour, we'll take you through all the global and domestic cues that you need to watch out for and also tell you about the stocks that you need to keep on your radar today ahead of the start of the trading session on the D Street. But then let's get started with an eye on the globe. Let's talk about the US markets first, which ended lower overnight, pulling back from the record high as the federal government shutdown that entered its 9th day with no signs of a breakthrough in negotiations between Republicans and Democrats. If we talk about the indices, S&P 500 slipped about 0.3%, whereas the Nasdaq Composite that edged down by about 0.08%, whereas the Dow Jones Industrial Average that witnessed a major fall of over 200 points or about 0.5%. Now, despite the intraday gains earlier seen in the session, the street turned cautious amid a lack of fresh economic data that was due to the government shutdown that we have been witnessing for the past 9 days. Next up, of course, we have earnings from Delta Airlines and PepsiCo, which were broadly positive, hinting at resilient consumer demand, but they weren't enough to sustain the market momentum. For the week so far, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, they're still on track for modest gains of about 0.3% to 1.1%, whereas the Dow, that is facing for a decline of nearly 1% for the week. If we talk about specific stocks, Nvidia was the one that remained in a bright spot, rising over 2.5% this week after the CEO said computing demand has gone up substantially this year. Looking forward, the focus will shift to Q3 earnings season, which kicks off next week with major banks like JP Morgan and Citigroup set to report their results. Investors will also watch for US consumer sentiment data that's due later today for further clues on the economic resilience. So that's how the US markets panned out yesterday, and they're expected to end with modest gains for the week. But Shrishti, how are things on the crude front? Looks like there's been some easing on the back of the Gaza Peace Deal.
Well, yes, Kanishka, a bit of a ease off after that peace deal, and we have seen almost 1% decline from those higher levels, but as of now it's trading absolutely flat at $65.2 per barrel mark when it comes to the crude prices. But very interesting moves coming in on the gold and the silver prices as well, because gold was seen to be retracing for a bit, but for now it's still trading above that 4,000 per ounce mark. But silver, that's the commodity that surged over 4% to a record $51 an ounce, eclipsing the 1980 Hunt Brothers peak, and the metal is up more than 70% this year, outperforming gold as investors flock to the safe haven amidst the US fiscal worry. Now, rate cut expectations and concerns over Fed independence are some of the other factors. Now, overall, the tight supply in London and booming demand from solar and industrial sectors are fueling the rally. And yes, very interesting move when it comes to the silver prices, Kanishka.
Absolutely, Shrishti. So that's about the US market and the